Hi guys, and welcome to another video. In this video it's going to be like a how-to or making of our Simpson Desert trip, so yeah, come along for the ride. What we're going to do is show you how we prepared for this trip. There's an awful lot to think about. We've never been out there, and we just didn't know what we were going to come across, so we thought we'll investigate it, we'll look, we'll plan. Failing to plan is planning to fail, and we didn't want to fail out in the middle of nowhere, out in the middle of a desert somewhere. So yeah, we planned fairly thoroughly, and we're going to show you what we did. So first up, what we did is we got a big map of Australia, looked at where we had to go, and then we looked at things like what we wanted to really achieve in our goals for the trip, if you might add. We looked at originally doing a full crossing of the Simpson Desert, and that would end us all the way out at Mount Dare, out near Alice Springs, and then from there we'd had to head south and maybe down the bottom of Lake Eyre. Who knows? We didn't know exactly where we were going to end up. So what we did was we had a bit of a plan, and we thought, well, what can we do in around about sort of 2 weeks time? And we measured it all out, planned it all out, and found that we could do what we called our 3 corners adventure. So that's going to Haddons Corner, Poeppels Corner, however you want to say it, and Cameron's Corner, and then see what else we found along the way. And what we did find along the way was really excellent. There was some stuff we just hadn't even thought of. So we'll show you what we did as we went along our journey. So we're going to start with car preparation. Car preparation. I've got a Nissan Patrol Y61. It's the 3-litre turbo. It's had a few modifications to it. It's got the bull bar on the winch, and it's got a rear bar with 2 spare wheels on it. We can carry extra fuel up on the roof rack. We use just 2 10-litre containers. We worked out eventually that that's what we possibly need. The car's also fitted out with a 45-litre water tank, which sits in behind where the back seat would go, and we also carry a couple of 3-litre bottles of water as well, more for drinking. The other is more for washing, but it's tap water, so we can use that as well if we ever needed to. So but we had plenty of water on board for our journey, and that was in part of the preparation. We have a video about our car on YouTube, and I'll put a link in the description. The most important piece of equipment that you're going to need out in the desert there is a 4-wheel drive. Now, you can get out to the desert in a 2-wheel drive, but once you start to hit the sand dunes, you're going to need 4-wheel drive. Preferably high clearance, so not your little tiny SUVs. They're probably not going to make the journey easily, not without a lot of assistance. But a good 4-wheel drive, so that could be anything from a station wagon, ute, you name it. There's lots of different options out there. And we've got a Nissan Patrol, and it's a bit kitted out. So a couple of the important things you need. One is a snorkel, and that's just to get a little bit of nice clean air up high for if you're following along on dusty roads. That will help a little bit. If you're going to get a snorkel, make sure it's actually sealed down the bottom end. You don't want it sucking water in through there if you're doing any creek crossings. And you're thinking, yeah, creek crossing in the middle of the desert? Yes. Yeah, there are some creeks out there, particularly when we come to Ayres Creek or Eyre Creek. You'll see that we didn't really need a snorkel in that one, but I have had to use snorkels on the odd occasion up in the Cape York, on Gari. We've needed the snorkel there, and it needs to be sealed. So check your snorkel is sealed to the air box so that you don't get any leaks in there. Another thing you might need if you're doing deeper creek crossings and river crossings and that sort of thing at any stage is diff breathers. Get the air intake for your diffs and gearbox and all that sort of thing, get that up as high as you possibly can. You can get a diff breather, a breather kit to do that. Now, other things you may need a winch. I've got a winch on my car, rarely use it for recoveries. We just don't seem to get it stuck, I suppose, but it's good there for getting other cars out the road. Recovery boards, whatever you want to call them, different brands there are out there. Yeah, they're an essential item, I'd say. Again, I've got a pair on my car and again have rarely used them. Just don't seem to need them that often, but when you do need them, it's nice to have it there rather than not having them there and actually needing them.
Tyre management is very important. Now you can use these little Strawn tyre deflators, and they now come available with a adjustable pressure. These ones are preset to 20 psi, which I use just on sand, but if I need something a little bit more accurate, I'll actually use this type of tyre deflator, which you can simply screw it on, undo the valve, you then pull out the little knob and it adjusts the pressure to whatever you need. Screw them back up and away you go. Okay, so we can see how the tyre bulges out that little bit. By lowering the tyre pressure, it gives it a much broader spread across the sand, which means we're going to float across the sand rather than sinking into it. So when you finish playing in the sand, you've got to reinflate those tyres, so of course you're going to need a decent compressor as well. And if tyre management doesn't work, then you may need to get snatched out, and of course you're going to need the right equipment for that. You may need some of these soft shackles, you may need the hard shackles, whatever suits your vehicle there. You will definitely need a snatch rope, or you may prefer the old snatch strap. This is an old one. If you're using one of these, wind it up from the middle. It just makes it a lot easier to unroll and gives you those two ends available for hooking up to your car. That's a tree protector, so that goes around the tree nice and broad, and it won't allow your winch rope to cut into the tree bark and kill the tree. So wind that around and then hook up the rest of your gear to it. If you need extensions, you can use this extension strap. That's a winch extension strap.
We also have a full set of tools. Not that I'm a great mechanic or anything like that, but I do have enough tools there to be able to reattach things to the car if something should come loose or fall off. But hopefully that's not going to happen, because we're going to get that car checked out by a mechanic even before we leave, just to make sure that everything's in place and we're raring to go. Make sure you've got enough fuel. If you're going out to the Simpson Desert, if you're doing the full crossing, that's from Birdsville right over to somewhere like Mount Dare. That's quite a distance we've got to travel, and your car's going to be working hard. It's got to climb sand dunes, and that can be quite hard on fuel consumption. A lot of the time you're only driving along at 20-30 k's an hour as you're crossing between dunes, and you're not using a heap of fuel there, but as soon as you get to that steepness of the dune, and if you've got to have a number of goes at it to get up there, that's a bit of fuel that you're going to waste along the way. And you may need to do some diversions. So at the moment, or when we were out there, we had to do the side track around the Air Creek crossing. It was still way too deep for vehicles to get across. We did see some tracks across there. Somebody had a go, but I believe they actually came back again when they realised that there's actually more sort of further out along that track. So we did the bypass track, and the river crossing there, the creek crossing, it was still actually quite deep. It was axle deep right the way across just about, which surprised me to see that much water flowing in the middle of the desert, but nice to see at least anyway. So allow plenty of fuel. It's about 400 or 500 kilometres across the desert, but you're up and down over the sand dunes, so that's going to keep your fuel economy down a little bit. So make sure you've got plenty of fuel. You need to have enough to do probably over, say, about 1,000 kilometres. If your car can do 1,000 kilometres, then you might be able to make it across. My car will do around about 900 and something, so we carried an extra 20 litres up on the roof in some jerry cans, and just in case, but we probably could have done it with just what was in the tank.
Hi, it's Ray, and one of the considerations for the trip always has to be food. One of the big considerations of your food is buying the right goods and having a menu. Without a menu, you don't know what you need to buy and you'll waste storage. I've done a start of a menu up here, excuse the chicken squawk, but that goes for 5 days and it tells us what we need to buy. We need to buy bacon, we need to buy eggs, we need to have 4 frozen meals, and we need ham and cheese and Vegemite and flatbreads and some snacks and of course some beer as well. And they're all an important part of it. If you plan your menu, you know what you can buy, you buy it, and you can use your storage box. You can also factor in the fact that you will be visiting other towns where you may be able to top up your supplies. So you don't have to take everything with you when you leave, but you do need to know all your frozen meals you need to take and that type of thing. It's a good idea to work out how much you need for each meal and freeze it separately. Colin and I have realised that 2 of us get a Chinese food container about that size of spag bol, stroganoff, chicken curry, any of your favourite meals, and add rice or pasta to them, and a Chinese food container of frozen stuff will feed the pair of you. So if you've got 4 people, 2 Chinese food containers, or the big size ones. The good things to have with you are the pre-cooked rice, the 40-second microwave rice. That stuff is great because you can just heat that up in a pan with the food, and it's fine. It doesn't need a lot of cooking. Pasta's good because you just need a bit of water and you can cook pasta, and they both keep really well. Also, if you don't really want pasta or rice, you can take some flatbread with you, eat it with flatbread, and that works well and it's very efficient in space. Meals with us. And one of Col's favourite and mine is my cowboy beans. The recipe is very simple. It's all about 4. You have 4 beef sausages, 4 rashers of bacon, 4 brown onions, 4 chilies, 4 cloves of garlic, and 4 tins of beans. Now the beans can be any type of beans, but I like to have borlottis, white beans, chickpeas, and black beans. But you can vary that. You then have to have a tub of one of the small tubs of tomato paste, 2 bay leaves, a little bit of water if it starts to get a bit thick as you cook. And what have I missed? I think that's pretty much it. Anyway, you start off by cooking your sausages, cut them up into bite-sized pieces. Then cook your bacon, chop your bacon up, chop your onions, garlic, chilies up, throw them all in the pot and brown them all up. Then add the sausages back in, throw the 2 big tins of tomatoes, chopped tomatoes in, and all the other ingredients in. Make it add a little water to make it into a good consistency, a little simmer, and simmer it until the chickpeas are cooked. And it's ready. Freeze it, and then you just have to warm it up, add some rice or some pasta, or eat it by itself with some flatbread.
Yum.
Yum, yum, yeah.
Okay. And now it's time for an edition of Blazing Saddles. I have Mexican beans.
Yeah, it looks pretty awesome. Tastes good too, right? Thank you.
If you want the recipe for my cowboy beans, Carl's going to put it in the description below. And now the next part of planning is planning your clothing and your personal items. Don't forget, take plenty, but not too many. Undies, you want a pair for every day. Socks, a pair for every day. Thongs, shoes, a hat, and if you're going into fly areas, a hat net. Shirts, shorts or pants. Warm clothes for desert nights and if going into cold areas. A good idea is have something if you're wearing shorts put on your lap while you're sitting in the passenger seat. You will burn during the desert. Sunscreen, insect repellent, and when it comes to bedding, we use swag stretchers, sleeping bag, sheet or liner, and a pillow, and anything else you need personally. But just remember the basics.
So I have a box of bits and pieces that I need. Extension cords for your 12 volt in case you want to run lighting in your tent or swag or whatever. I've got an extension hose for filling my water tank. I've got a few other bits and pieces in there. Water repellent spray for the engine if you ever need that. A little portable shower that sticks into a bucket of water. You can warm up a bucket of water on the stove, drop that into there, switch that on, and you've got a nice warm shower. As long as you've got plenty of water available. Another very important piece of equipment these days is portable toilet. They can save having lots of toilet paper out in the bush. No matter where you go these days, it's so disappointing. We saw it in the Simpson Desert, I've seen it on Gari, on the east side, just behind the campsites. On the west side of Gari, we actually found a plastic bag full of poo and paper. And of course a dingo's going to find that, tear it apart, and there's plastic and toilet paper everywhere. That's just disgusting.
Okay, so I've just picked all that stuff up. There it is there. Put it inside a plastic bag and I'm going to leave it in my little green bucket, and that will go up on the roof of the car.
We're all packed up, ready to go. Rubbish on the roof.
A portable toilet just makes the job so much easier, and there's plenty of dump points all over the place. We found one at Birdsville, so when we came out of the desert, there's a dump point. The first thing you see as you drive into town. Now, if you're wondering what these two paintings are, I'm a painter. I take my kit with me when I'm on the tour, when I'm travelling around, and I do what we call plein air painting, which is painting in the outdoors. These two are studio paintings that I've done once I've got home, and these are for a fellow who saw me do a painting out on the track there at Betoota, and he thought, yeah, I'd like a painting as well. So he told me what he wanted, and I'll put them together for him, and yeah, I hope he enjoys these paintings. So it's just something else I do on the tracks. Okay, thanks for watching another video. We hope it's been helpful, informative, bit of fun as well.
Planning your trip is very important. And if there's anything else you'd like to see in our video, let us know. Like, share, and subscribe. Press the buttons. Thank you very much.
Somewhere there. Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Puppy, Nanny Rose is going to go and drive through Nolan's. Oh, bananas!